Today's episode is brought to you by Kid Veen. Everyone has a sinister side. Discover your inner demon and satisfy your dark fantasies by joining the fast-growing gang of misfits currently wearing Kid Veen. Go to www.kidveen.com and use the code CREATIVE at checkout to receive 10% off your order. Every time one of you guys uses this code, I actually get a kickback. Affiliate links and sponsorship programs are one of the few ways to actually get a little bit of money back for content on this platform. So if you like the podcast and want to show some support, this is one of the best ways you can do it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Creative Appetite. Today I'm joined by my good friend Mica from The Shelter. Shelter is a local magazine on the Sunshine Coast which supports local artists throughout Australia and predominantly on the Sunshine Coast. Welcome, and I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to have you on. We've been trying to get you on for a long time. And when I say we, I mean me.
The orchestra man.
Oh, it's good to have you here. How you been?
Good, I'm excited.
Had a bit of a technical issue there just a second ago, but we've come back.
And you did it. Everything's fixed now.
I was like freaking.
Hell yeah.
Especially in the day when you got like so many episodes, like the last thing you need is like your breakdown of your things.
Google Doctor.
Yeah.
Please
YouTube.
Google. You did it. I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
No, I'm very excited.
Yeah.
So good. So we'll start at the magazine because that's the first thing.
Yeah.
I guess everyone's going to know.
Yeah.
So when did it start?
2 years already almost. 4 issues so far only. But the first year was me trying to figure out what I was going to do and how. That took me around 1 year, and then 1 year doing the 4 issues last year. So out in the world, 1 year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 1 year and a half-ish.
How do you find like putting together a magazine? I feel like there's so much content that you need to like manage, because you're not just managing like one particular like story. You got to manage like multiple stories.
52 pages. It's a lot, yeah. And I had no idea what I was putting myself into. No idea, zero. It started because I wanted to put creatives together, similar to this, support the locals and promote the local culture and give it some nurturing thing to make it grow. And I was like, how can I do that with no budget? Okay, maybe advertising will give budget in something that I can put out. And that's why a magazine started. That was the first thing. But I wanted to have a warehouse and videos and boom, bam, like all this stuff, and doing spreadsheets and budgets. It was like, okay, but you have zero money. So the magazine was kind of like, okay, maybe I can do like, instead of a physical space, a paper space. And it's been a journey. Yeah, it's been fun learning how to do a magazine. It's good. I feel like I'm getting better. Still learning though. Issue 5 now about to drop.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one to come out. That's going to be fun.
You have a spread.
I know, that's crazy. It's interesting to like see magazine format come back as well, because for a while it seemed like it just dropped off the face of the earth, apart from the like weekly issues of like the whatever, those, do you ever remember like growing up? I don't know if it was the same in Argentina, but they have like those like the magazines with like all the celebrities and stuff in them, and they're like all the shit talking that they have in there.
We do have those as well.
It's like the Queen is gonna it's just like
we don't care about the Queen in Argentina, but we do have those. I remember though that I had like a passion for one specific magazine that it was really similar with Shelter actually, and it was smaller even, but it was a square format as well. It was called Wipe in Argentina. Really cool. Like I remember grabbing it and taking all the photos and stuff and sticking it into my wall, and that's my first reference to do this. I was like, okay, cool. I loved it. It was my obsession. I would stack it and wait for it every edition, and it was tiny pocket like this, even smaller than the Shelter. So really similar. It was the first trigger. Boom. Oh, I want to do something like that.
I used to do that as well with my like my school book. I used to like cut like
Yeah.
pictures out and like glue them onto my like
Yeah.
cover of my
Yeah.
book.
I love that. I love that. I'm a like things person. I like things, you know, like stuff like
Materials.
shit, like you know, like oh, this pin is so cute or this sticker is so good. And with creatives, if you put something beautiful in a magazine, that's my hope, no, that people can just grab a piece and frame it or use it as a postcard. Not podcast. But yeah, it's been awesome, the magazine. And the next one coming is Fire.
Yeah, I don't like it's. I went like reading them. They seem like so. It's really colorful. Like, how do you get your theme in terms of like the backdrop of everyone's
Yeah.
like?
I with Alex, my partner, that he helps me so much, and in each issue we have graphic designers as well, and Brooke with all the writing. So it's a team of us putting everything together. Kind of, we have brainstorm sessions, and depending on who is in the magazine as well. Before, so this one that is coming now is the first one that has kind of like a more proper curation in terms of theme for the magazine. It's all about local music, so it will be more consistent in what you see. Before, it was a little bit like a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like putting everything together. So that's why it was super random. I'm random, so it makes sense. It will still be random, but I think it's coming. The curation of the magazines in this year will be a little bit different, a little bit more refined.
Yeah, have you like, are those like things that you've picked up over time, like in bringing out different issues? You're like, oh, maybe I should like kind of streamline it. Streamline? Doesn't even like streamline it a little bit more so that it become like it's more easy on the eye for people to like get a.
Yeah, and we got better. The first one with Andrea Kirwin, which I love her, and she was the best first support ever. That one was a mess. Like, even I don't read, so for me to be doing a magazine, it's just like, oh, wow.
Like a picture book.
Yeah,
just put his pictures in there.
Yeah, call my attention and grab me for 3 seconds in one small sentence. That's me. But then, of course, Brooke, that's why it's so important for the magazine to have Brooke, because she's the word human. And in the beginning, we didn't know, none of us knew how to do a magazine. So even the graphic design of how to put all the words was a mess. It was like not super beautiful to see. And this one's already, you know, like columns and like different type fonts and stuff. So it's definitely better in all the ways. Like, we got better after, you know,
Yeah, as
five issues. Yeah.
I guess it's like the natural progression as well. If you stay consistent and stick to it, you'll eventually like get better at it.
100%. I'm a slow learner, so it's taking me longer than I thought. I was like, by issue 3, I'm gonna have this so sorted, and I don't have it sorted yet at all. But it's getting better, definitely. Yeah,
I definitely feel like that as well. Like, even with the podcast, I was like, I'm gonna make this the biggest thing in the world. And then when you like start to look into it more, you're like, oh, there's actually so much work 100%. That is involved in this.
100%. So much respect for people that open their own project and then they stick to it. They make it successful in any possible way. Success, I don't mean either, oh, everyone knows it, or economically, but something that you can sustainable, I guess. Yeah. Something that you can sustain and do it in time, because what you see, it's really normal that people start something and then drop off. And dude, it's a struggle, beautiful struggle, to sustain a project of your own. And yeah, I'm like, respect, even for anyone that has their own, like, I don't know, a coffee shop or you know, whatever that you start, and then you stick to it, and you're like, I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's pretty hectic to like stay consistent, and that's like a big thing, especially for me. Noticing like I've had people like in just other projects as well, and you just watch them come and go. Like there's, and then you see the ones that stay consistent and continually work hard at it.
And it's the key, yeah. It's a key.
Yeah, I think this is now 20. I think when this will come out, it will be like the 23rd episode.
Dude, you're killing it. And you're doing so much in so short time. Like you're doing a lot. It's
been like, it's only been running since December.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, so it's
a
been
lot.
It's been hectic for like.
It's awesome.
And especially like all the stuff that goes on behind the scenes as well that people haven't really seen yet.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot that goes. Oh yeah, editing as well, and like dealing with other people and trying to like branch out and make it bigger and
put it all together. Yeah.
It's a lot. Like and it's cool to see like people that do stay consistent and I guess that was like one of the biggest things that I found is like staying consistent and like putting out episodes continually and just. But I find for me personally, like when you find something that you really enjoy, it doesn't seem like work. Like you're just doing it because like, and that's stupid. Like it's so cliche to say, but really with this,
to me, it doesn't happen. You know,
like you just don't notice it. You just
I'm the opposite. Maybe it's because I'm shit. But sorry, I'm swearing so much.
Oh, you're allowed to okay. Swear. It's fine.
But no, for me, work sucks. Like this is work, and in this, even to come here, I was like, fuck, why I'm doing this? Why? I swear. Then of course I'm here and I love it, and I see the value when I leave probably, and same with the events, same with the magazine. When I finish, and I see out there, and it's like, oh, that's why I did it. But while I do it, I hate it.
This is shit.
I swear, it sucks, but yeah, it's 100%, and I reckon that's even more valuable for me to be doing it, because it's not actually something that I enjoy doing it, but it's something that is in my gut for doing it. So I don't stop myself of doing it because it sucks in that moment. It's like to continue to do in the events. I struggle, like it's a lot as well. And when I'm in the event and I see like there is like one or two magical moments, and I'm like, oh, that's why I did it. Okay, cool. That now makes sense, you know? Yeah,
it's so hard, I guess. Like even like with editing, I hate editing.
Yeah.
It is I have an editor who edits for me at the moment, but I have to go back to editing myself.
Yeah.
And I'm just like dreading it. I'm like, oh man, like
it's
I enjoy this.
Of work.
This bit's the best. This is the best. But then all the other stuff, you're just like, oh man.
Yeah.
And like you get home from work and you're just laying in bed and you're like procrastinating, like putting things off that you know you should be doing. And it's like, oh, it's like the constant struggle.
Yeah, I think that's important also to acknowledge when you have your own thing. It's like, at least for me, it's not easy, and it's not like, oh, I'm doing my dream thing and it's so easy and I love it and success, and no, fuck no. It's like a lot of work, sucks most of the time. And then it has like a percentage of, oh no, it was actually awesome, and that's all right.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't have to be great all the time, you know?
But I think that's the other thing that people don't see is like they only see like the image of, oh, this person's doing so well. They must just be living their best life. It's like at the end of the day, this is a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Like this isn't just like what people see here on the screen or listening and stuff. They don't see like all the other shit that like you actually hate. Like and like it's like any job really. Like you get up and go to work, you hate going to work. It's the same thing. There's parts of this that I don't like doing and things that really annoy me. But it's because the 80% of this was what I love. So I don't really. I'm like, I'd rather do this.
I like your percentage. It's a lot better than my percentage. I said like 2%. Like, dude, love it. I do it more.
It's just the editing that I don't like. Okay. I find it so hard and it's so time consuming.
Yeah, it's a lot of time. Like, that's true.
It takes so much.
Yeah.
But like the rest of it's fun.
Yeah. And then with time you get better at time management, I guess.
Yeah. Well, now I'm like super, like I'm talking to like 7 different people all at once. I'm just constantly like sending voice memos, which are the greatest thing, by the way, guys. Get on voice memos if you have not.
Hey, I know that you do. I do
good.
that.
It's so handy.
But some people hate it, actually.
A lot of Australians don't like voice memos.
Oh yeah,
It's like
it
this
might be
weird
a
thing.
Latino thing, eh? For us, we love it. We
Yeah.
use WhatsApp a lot. And
Yeah,
we
Europeans, they froth it. They're just like
yeah,
constantly
European
just
as well,
like
yeah.
voice memoing all the time. And
Yeah.
my friend from Germany, he did it to me, and I always felt, I was like, oh, this is really weird.
Yeah, intimidating.
And now I'm just like, I just voice memo everyone. I'm like, da, 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 just it's so handy and
Yeah.
efficient. It saves you time like texting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
most
love
of
it.
the time.
Our audios were really funny, like "Hello, yeah,",
yeah.
like singing, and it makes it better.
You get more like the emotion comes out.
Yeah,
It's so much
100%.
better.
Yeah,
It makes-
100%.
When so like moving to the Sunshine Coast,
Yeah.
was that always the idea to like start the magazine?
No, and it was actually the opposite. Like when I moved, I came from Brisbane. I'm from Buenos Aires. Buenos Aires is a freaking 24/7 city with everything. Like there's no you have like all the stuff to do, you know? Like there's no option to stay home. You have so many things and friends, and it's kind of like a Berlin of South America, or like a New York from South America, you know? It's super busy. Then I moved to Brazil, then to LA, and then end up here in Brisbane. So already Brisbane was a little bit like, oh, there's lack of stuff, you know? Like
Yeah.
there's only so little to do. And then when I moved to Sunshine Coast, I was like, oh, I'm gonna be crazy in 6 months. Like I'm gonna literally nature beautiful. I was doing all the walks and stuff, but yeah, I was struggling culturally. It was like, wow, no. And then I noticed that my personality is really outgoing, so I don't mind going and, you know, like say, hey, what's going on, or who are you, and blah blah blah. And I literally did that with to random people. That it was funny in the beginning, like a little bit pushy, but I noticed that there was a lot of things actually happening, but everyone was in their own bubble, you know. So then if you didn't have the personality to go and be like, oh, can I come here? And even though I don't know anyone, or what are you doing, or what is this coffee about, or whatever, if you would stay really isolated. So I was like, okay, because I have the personality and the energy to do that first, what is this? I'm gonna put everything that I find into one same place. And that's what, like, that was the first trigger kind of thing. Not to drive myself crazy, and to be a middle human, I guess, into what I was seeing and what I wanted to share with other people that was going to be new to the coast, or and that's what I did. I started like that. Literally went to see. I remember one of the first things that I saw here was Dear Dunan, who with a few of them I'm really good friends now, and they were for me the only cultural thing that I saw happening. I was like, okay, there is a band. Cool. There is a band.
One
band that is playing. But it was like what I found. Then that opened kind of like a pocket and another pocket and another. And I did the refinery, which it was a great experience. You should have them here. They were the same, but with council backup. So same. Creatives doing something for creatives, and that opened a lot of doors as well. And it was the same kind of feeling, people that just want to activate and spark culture. Otherwise, Andrea Kirwin, there's a few that I started, you know, like, oh, okay, there's a few people here actually pushing it to make this work. Because I feel that the lack of culture is not actually a lack of culture, it's just hiding. Just like hiding culture. Yeah. But now it's changing, and yeah, it's like you can see there's so many people that is keen for this to happen, you know?
That was something that I noticed though when like moving here. I was like, there's a lot going on, but one, you don't know where it is, and two, you don't know the right people to like talk to about it.
Yeah.
And then obviously starting, which is one of the reasons why I started the podcast anyway, for the same reason, just like bring everyone together and like kind of pop the bubble, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But yeah, the biggest thing that I found was that I like coming from Sydney where there's, like you said, same thing. It's like there's just stuff going on all the time.
Yeah.
And the best part about like living in a major city is like you can just go anywhere, and because there's like no one really cares whether or not you're there. You have the opportunity to like get yourself into like a scene or whatever without having like the barrier of people.
Yeah.
All friends.
Who is this person?
They know that you're not from here.
Yeah.
So that was like the biggest driving factor for moving this podcast forward.
Yeah.
And I did have another podcast in Sydney prior to this, but I never did anything. Like I just never went to air or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I found. It was like on the coast, there's like heaps of creative people, and obviously doing more episodes, I'm finding that there's a shitload of creative people.
Yeah, tons. Yeah.
But it's like no one's connected, and if they are connected, they're like, it's like, oh, this person knows these three people, this one knows these three people, and everyone's kind of like scattered around. It's like I want to bring everyone together.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is like what you're doing, especially with the event offline.
Yeah, with offline, offline was the last one, and before last year we did another 4 or 5. And they are called Morph. We're coming back with Morph this year. Actually, the 2nd of July. Booyah! So save the date.
2nd of July.
Yeah, it's not far away.
I should be back.
Yeah.
Because I'm leaving for a month. So hopefully I'll be back.
Yeah, so we're having another event on the 2nd with Little Temple Records this time. So what we do, the last time we did it with Alter Ego and Fat Slice Media, and then this time, so again, to mix it up, to connect different audiences. That's what we are all about. So the idea is that for each event, we might change with who we collaborate, or maybe then we repeat and we do another one with Alter Ego again, or another one. But yeah, it's exciting, and putting all the, then you see all the people, like the last one was insane. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was crazy. Like offline on a Tuesday as well.
Tuesday.
I don't know how many people were there, but there was a shitload.
Yeah, we were like 370. It was awesome.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, and in Nusa. So
I know,
like,
for a Tuesday. I was like, I couldn't believe
and a ticket that it wasn't super cheap. It was 35/45 in the door. So yeah, it was a really good feedback of like, oh yeah, there is all these people wanting this, wanting live music, wanting an artist exhibiting a live interview, to talk. It's, human connection through creativity is just the best way.
How did you go in terms of like, I guess, if someone was getting into event organizing or something, what were the steps that you took to like even, because there was a lot going on. There was so many different elements to that.
Yeah.
So how did you go in terms of like what steps you took to organize it?
Yeah. Event production, I feel like I'm better at that than magazine editor. It comes a little bit more, a little bit easier, but also teaming up with people. Like I'm working with Chucho now, and that mix was just perfect. He's like solid in numbers and logic, and he puts everything into spreadsheets, and he's like, wow, I see him and I'm like, fuck, this is my dream, like, and and I'm more human. He's as well, but like teaming up, like it's perfect. Like I bring what I'm good at into the table, he brings what he's good at to the table, and then adding extra people like creatives and like, what is your idea? And we brainstorm for like 4 meetings with everyone of Alter Ego and us and Fat Slice, and everyone putting their input and then putting all that into an email. And it was a lot of work as well. That's why you see then 370. It makes sense that after the whole hassle of putting that together, it had that feedback of like, oh, boom, all these. It was awesome, and it has so many steps. And to do it right, I'm a perfectionist. That's why I don't enjoy much stuff because I don't see things like, yes, boom, sorted. I only see what I did wrong.
Yeah.
So that I guess pushes me to the next time, do it even like I don't know, more time efficient or better budget, or less of this, more of that. I love to work with this. I didn't like to work with the, like all of that. So the last one after 5 events was a lot of a process in those 5 events that we did before. It was really good to have those smaller ones that it wasn't that much smaller, but it gave us like the like the previous work. How do you call it? Like I lost that
Yeah,
word.
like the drive to like move. Like you learn.
I don't even know it in Spanish. No, like the practice. That's what I wanted to say. Like, like the practice. She lost me. We had the practice with those before, and this last one was kind of like the first one that was like professional. Yeah. And then I reckon the next one is going to be
even better.
They
can only go up from here.
Yeah. The next one is going to be awesome. We're interviewing the homegrown artist from the Horizon Festival, and 3 bands coming that I can't say who yet. I know. And then theater and food trucks as well, like all the stuff that we had. But I reckon better because it will be the second one that we do this big. So
yeah, it's cool when you can see things become more streamlined, like in your process.
Oh, dude.
So then it's like when you do something, it's real shit the first time, you hate it.
Yeah.
But then you learn so much from it. So the next time you go ahead with it, it makes it much more smooth.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And also like this one, I reckon we will have a little bit more like solid with budgeting, which is the key for anything. And I suck at that. That's why partnering with someone that, like Chucho in this case, he's like, no, stick to the budget, or like first think of this and then we can do it, and for me it was like, yay.
Were you doing anything creative back in South America?
I did everything creative. I only did creative stuff in my life and never had anything that wasn't creative. My mom was an actress, my dad photographer, my sister violinist, musician. I grew up in all theaters in Argentina, literally falling asleep at 2 a.m. with 3 years old while artists and actors were performing and rehearsing. I didn't have any other option of only knowing the creative scene. I found myself at, 5 years old giving feedback on on scripts from a play, like 5 years old. Like I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah.
Like I knew because I would be listening to them rehearsal. My brain will catch all the script. So then when they made a mistake, I would be like, no, that was first la 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 la, and I was correcting stuff, and they would like laugh at me back, like, oh my god, this tiny human knows already the script, So I guess in that sense, I experience all the arts. Like I play the saxophone for 7 years. I did theater for drama for another 3 years. I did all the arts that you can think, like name one, and I did it. So that for me is awesome because now I can I'm a photographer, so and I love to take photos of artists, most of it. So when I direct a shoot or an event, I know the language. I know how to talk with everyone, like with the dancer, with like with the musician, and I love it. That's probably my best skill, I guess. That's where I'm best at.
Do you think that, like, you mentioned that you're a bit of a perfectionist. Do you reckon that's obviously, as you just stated then, like when you were 5 directing like actors on stage, do you think that that's just been like something in you? Has that like come from your parents to the point where like they were perfectionists as well, and like this is just like,
I love that you do
it's
that.
just gone the whole way?
Oh yeah, 100%. My mom was a perfectionist as well. She I guess it's a gift and a curse, because then it's easier for you to see what doesn't work. For me, it's a lot like I see, like the bad first than the good. And yeah, probably it's inheritance of my parents. Yeah, 100%.
It's like I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well, and I find it can be a little bit challenging at times when you're trying to explain to someone how things need to work, and they just don't see they don't understand like the noise that's going on inside your head, and like the stress and anxiety of when you're trying to you're trying to explain to someone. They're like, oh man, you just like do that. You're like, you can't cut corners. Like, if you don't do it right the first time, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I think being exigent, is that a word in English? What? Exigent? No. In Spanish is exigente, which is, I guess, strict with yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like it might be.
We're just adding in words now. Someone else would know what you're talking about. I'm just like too dumb to figure it out.
I'm gonna Google that one. Yeah, but I think it's good. Sometimes if you are in my privacy, I guess, like my partner Alex or my friends, they see me stressed all the time, and they, even more in magazine deadline time, like, oh fuck, like more in the negative, like I suck and this sucks and I don't know why I'm doing this and fuck and I'm so bad at this and blah, blah, blah. I'm like that. Like seriously, it's not nice to be around me in that moment. And I'm stressed and I don't sleep. But I don't find any other way, and I think I like it this way. If this is taking me to do it better next time, only if this is taking me to do it better next time. Otherwise, of course, it doesn't make sense. But I guess it is taking me to make it better next time.
Yeah, so. Does it like then roll into like your home life and like personal life? If you're like in business, you're like a perfectionist, so you're constantly like stressed out and making sure things are going on. So then naturally you would think they're not going to do that. Naturally you'd think that it would like then roll into your like personal life as well.
Yeah.
So is your boyfriend just like, or your partner, sorry, is he just like just chill out? We're doing some cooking here. It's all right. just
sadly, I'm a piece of shit, and I'm like that with my house as well. I
not
swear.
A piece of shit. That's like
I'm like that with my house as well. Like, this is not clean enough. But I'm lucky that he's the best. He understands, and I try to not be like bad at communicating. So even when I'm stressed, and even and I'm learning this, and I think this is really good advice for anyone that has a team. At least for me, I am weird, and I don't have a strategy on like team building where I am like, everything's great, let's do this, like the cheerleader kind of.
All hands in, let's go.
Exactly, like let's do it because this is good and let's rock it. I'm bad at that. I'm really bad at that, and I think that's something that I need to be better. Because so far the team is always like boom, boom, morphing and changing and coming this and coming out, and maybe not really at the same time, because I have Erin and Brooke since the beginning, Alex since the beginning, but I want to be better at cheerleader of the team because of how exigent that's not a word strict I am with myself. I am sometimes maybe like that with the rest, and that's not cool. Like that, I want to be a little bit more like you're doing great kind of thing, and to myself as well. Probably, I should. But as a team leader, key to be encouraging and not this sucks. I don't know why we're doing this. Yeah.
Do you think that will just come with time and practice though? Like being self-aware to know that you're like all right, well maybe I'm a bit too full on in this aspect, but because I find for me personally, I'm constantly like self-evaluating and making sure that I don't like do certain things, or like I know if I've like had a really tough week, if I'm starting to get tired, I know that like the next day I'm probably going to be super, super manic. So I try to remove myself from like social situations just so I can not say anything too crazy or like get flustered.
Dude, self-aware, it's the best word that we could all have in our mind all the time. Self-aware is great if you don't turn it into negative thoughts and like too self-aware, like too self-absorbed, I guess. But to see it, I do this exercise for everything, not only for the creative jobs and for my life. I try to see everything from above, you know, like when you're kind of like lost, I'm like, okay, eagle eye and go up and see everything how it's going, and that brings me so much of like a good self-aware, I guess. Like if I try to see myself from up managing a situation and be like, oh, you're too stressed for this, like don't, or you're expressing this a little bit too hectic for the team or for my son, for anything, you know, like, and in business, I think it's a, like, like as a leader for like to direct other people is key. Self-aware.
Yeah. How, I guess like as a parent, how does that all work? Like if you are so manic, like I'm always find this interesting in terms of like parenting.
Yeah.
So like after having a child, when you were like looking, like when you were growing up, obviously like for example, for me personally, like when I was growing up, there was things that my parents did that I was like, oh, I wouldn't want to do that if I had a child.
Yeah.
Was that the same for you, like when you had a child and you're like, all right, and then you like reflected back on the things that your parents were like and they were maybe, so you're like, I don't want to implement that onto my child. Like, so how do you deal with parenting and things like that? Because I think parenting is one of the most, like it's so hard because they're such a sponge. So then you're like, I don't want to push this too hard because then maybe like, because your brain gets trained and like you eventually start going, okay, well this is the normal, so I'm going to start doing this. And the last thing you want is your kid to grow up and be like some crazy, like I don't know. I'm not a parent, so this is just my imagination trying to like figure this out. But does that make sense? Like you're trying, like when parenting, was there anything that you were going into like before you had the child? You're like, all right, I'm going to make sure that I do this because I think that's
I always knew that I wanted to be a mom, but I all of a sudden became a mom really, really young. So I didn't think much. I was like, boom, pregnant. Okay. I have to, learning how to be a human while being a mom. But definitely things, of course, that we see from our parents that we're like, oh, I would do this better. And I think also, again, like as a child or as a business, when you actually are doing it, you're like, oh, respect, mom. Sorry, I was a pain in your ass, you know, because it's a lot of work to be a parent. I'm like, it's a lot of work. Like you have self-aware is like bare minimum that you have to, you know. I was really lucky. I had the best baby Uma in the world, easiest human on earth, and not easy because easy in a good way, you know, easy in self-aware as a human, aware of the community, like the outside as well. So I was really lucky. I did take some stuff that I didn't want to repeat from my parents. But it was more in, I don't know, like not even too heavy stuff. Like just like be better at cooking. Or, you know, or be better at helping Uma with homework. I don't know, like that kind of stuff.
I guess it's definitely important. Like I've things that I look back on my parents and I'm like, I would never do that to my kids if I had kids.
Yeah, but then you have a kid and you're like, oh, fuck, I'm doing it.
But it seems like so intense, like having a child. It's like you were saying, you have to like, you're still trying to progress as a human. Naturally, like humans will progress and like evolve. And then on top of that, you've got some other little person running around that you're trying to like, so you got to almost have like two split personalities where you're like, all right, this is me as a human evolving and this is me as an individual. But then on top of that, now I've got you who I need to like
Yeah.
spoon feed basically into
Yeah.
life to like
Yeah.
get you to
You know that I find that it's actually really similar with a project of your own. Like I would like in your case, for example, how you manage your podcast, it might be similar with how you manage to have a kid. Just because I'm not saying it's the same, one is a human, but it is kind of like how you put input into something that is out of you. And with a kid and with a project, it's really similar, and I find this really interesting. Like once it's out, it's not yours anymore; it's everyone's. And a kid is the same. It's like, okay, of course, it's my son. I'm the mom. I will give them the most out of his life first years, of course, but then he's out and he has a personality. Same with a project, and an audience, or in the case of a human, friends or school, it will influence that as well, like the project itself or the human itself. And then it becomes this energy of like going out and in kind of thing. So I give something to this grows, and then this interacts with the audience, and then the audience brings something back, and it grows and it comes back to me. So that is in a way similar to how a son or a kid. And I find it fascinating, actually.
Yeah, and then like seeing where your son is now, have you like ever taken a time to like as a mum, because they say that like the mum is like the most loving, or majority of the time the mum's the most loving person because like it's come out of you, etc.
Yeah.
So have you ever like had a moment to yourself, maybe when your child's gone to bed and you're like, shit, like I've all these steps that I've implemented and like all these lessons that I've taught him, and you can see how he's like starting to grow into his own, like his own human.
Yeah.
Is that his own human, like starting to grow into himself?
Yeah. If I reflect on that, you mean?
Yeah, like have you ever just like caught yourself just sitting there thinking about, you're like, oh yeah, I'm really proud of like how
Is that
far
a
he's
real
come.
spider?
No, they're all fake. They're all fake spiders.
Sorry, I got distracted.
It trips everyone out.
I was like, damn, that's a big spider. Sorry. I do reflect, and I'm proud, of course. I see, yeah, that's a really good aspect of my life where I'm satisfied the most. Is like the percentage is not as the other one. It's like the best is. I feel like I was really lucky though. Like we were expecting with Alex, or I was expecting to have a tiny demon because of who I was as a kid. I was like, oh man, here's karma, and it was the opposite. It was literally lucky ass. Like I was like, what is this kid? So for me, it was easy in a way to be grateful.
Yeah.
I didn't have situations where it's like, oh, I kind of want to punch this kid. It was like always good.
Have you taken anything from being a parent and then implemented that back into like running this magazine and the shelter?
Interesting. I notice that some kind of same energy into what I work on myself I did as a mom, and I work in myself to have a business. In that way, it's similar. Like you have self-aware, be grateful, be hardworking. Like all of those you have with both kind of like enjoy the moment, which for me is really hard. I go to the future all the time, and being mom is like, oh, enjoy the moment. Like they grow up so much, like so fast. Literally, I feel like I'm 80 years old saying this, but dude, my son is now 14 and I don't even understand how this happened.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, it's just insane how quickly that went. And I reckon that's the same with both. For events, it's the same. Boom. Like I worked in 2 months for something, and then in 5 hours it's boom, done. Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually having this conversation with my friend last night, and it's like once, like the experience that you're in right now, like the experience that we're having,
Yeah.
once it's done, it's never going to happen again. like this experience will never come about again. It's only
Yeah.
this interaction's only going to happen once.
Yeah.
And when I like said that out loud, it really put it into perspective about being present in the moment. Like everyone currently runs around going, just be present in the moment. I'm like, but that doesn't it doesn't resonate with you until it resonates with you. Like until you like put it in. Like for me, it's all visual or like however. And then it's now like, I'm like, oh shit, like time is time is so valuable because once it's gone, it's done.
Yeah,
like,
done.
You can't go back and rerun it. It's like, so if you're not giving all your energy and time into that moment, you won't know what's going to happen if you do put all that energy and time into it. And two, it's like once it's done, that's it. Yeah. And then eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to look back and go, shit, I really wish that I wasn't sitting on my phone moment. And I was enjoying time and I was going
I was present.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And that I find it really important and like even not even important. It's like the key of being a mom and having my own businesses and being alive even,
Yeah,
like, even with your mates. It's like enjoy now. For me, it's really, I literally had to do a tattoo that says today in my finger because my brain goes to, so it's my own reminder of like in my this finger, it's stuff that I see the most. It's like, but in some kind of like magical act, it helps, like to only to say today. I wake up today.
I'm here
today. I don't know what will happen tomorrow, That is for both probably where I'm standing now the most. Like seriously love this moment because it's not going to happen again.
Yeah, literally it won't. So with like I guess we'll talk more about like the local side of the Sunshine Coast and things like that. Where do you really realistically, where do you think that the Sunshine Coast is going to sit in the rest of Australia in terms of like the creative trajectory going over maybe like the next, I don't know, let's say next 10 years? Because at the moment it seems to me that nothing on people from Byron, but Byron's like, it's kind of had its time. Like anything in life, it's kind of like they all run their course. And I feel like Byron was like really pumping and thriving. And it still is pumping and thriving. It's nothing. But it kind of seems like, just from my personal opinion and perspective, is that Noosa and the Sunshine Coast is starting to evolve and turn into maybe something similar like Byron.
Yeah. Look, I think each place, it does have like different age and even countries, like different age. And that's something that I found when I came here to Australia, that I was already like, wow, this is like the youngest brother of the country, this is the baby country. Yeah, it's just born. And of course not if we talk about the First Nation people. It's like they've been here for massive amount of time, the longest. Colonization, it's one of the youngest. So, and then if you go into like the smaller country, like inside, like the regionals and all that stuff, it's even younger. So the Sunshine Coast would be, if Australia is the youngest brother, Sunshine Coast is like 2 days. It was just born, it's like super, super new. You can see that because there's literally not many humans here. And we humans, we travel, everyone, we did this. This place is super young, and I think even Byron's still young, and it will develop into something new here. I reckon that we have an advantage where we can see everything that is all around that already happened, and be like, how can I start something from scratch better? Because everyone wants to be better. So I see a great future. I think it's really important to, like, for the community to be, like in a good communication mode, I guess. Learn from our regional culture. That's, I reckon, the key, and that's where I'm seeing myself going the most as well. Like, I want to learn language. I want to learn their art techniques, like support that as much as I can. I think in that sense, Sunshine Coast has a great future. I can see that as something bright, like in terms of First Nations education for us that we are new to this country. So that in 10 years, hopefully, my hope is that the original culture would be the predominant one, and then everyone is like a lot of creatives, so everyone is supporting each other. I see that in the future a lot. Like the local support here, it's massive. I think there is like a thirst for that, and it's awesome, and I can see that growing.
Yeah, I agree. I reckon it's the same. It's like there seems to be a lot of, I don't know, the Sunshine Coast as a whole seems to be evolving quite rapidly, and there's a lot more people moving in with a lot more creative ideas and things like that. So it's really exciting to see.
Bringing something new.
I was speaking to my friend. This is a little bit off topic, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend. He's from Brazil.
Yeah.
Last night we were at dinner, and he was saying he was talking to people about like the transition from coming from another country and then coming to Australia and dealing with the different cultures.
Yeah.
So how did you find like moving from Argentina to here?
Yeah.
Was there anything like key standouts in terms of like cultural differences and things where you were like, oh, this is so different to what I'm used to?
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Australian, it's crazy. What, like here you can see the new culture, white culture, and the original culture really different. I noticed that in terms of Latina, I found myself more comfortable with our original culture than white Australian culture, just because we are warmer, if that's a word. I don't want to say that Australians are cold. Please don't take this as a
Australians like, that's it.
I know. And I suck.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But like a lot, like less structure, I guess.
It's just it's different. Like warmer, I guess, if you were trying for me to like understanding it, is like British culture is very cold. Yeah, it's a very cold culture in terms of like the monarch and all that. So like Aboriginal culture is much warmer.
And we didn't. I didn't have that culture, like the queen culture in Argentina. You know, like we don't. Yeah, we don't. So in that sense, it took me almost a year to be like, what is this in an Asian side of the world? So I found it really challenging in the beginning. I thought it was way too to the inside, and then me as a Latina, it's like the outside all the time, like blah, blah, we shout, we touch, we like, we're annoying and loud. And Australians, I saw that it was the opposite, like super inside, super self-aware, but sometimes in a not a great way, sometimes in a amazing way, like super educated. I love that here you have a lot of stuff that I didn't even know, like self-time. In Argentina, that's not a thing. Like, we don't have self-time. We're with community and people all the time. We move in a bunch. And here is that, no, I want to have my alone time. I'm like, oh, that's awesome, alone time. What do you mean? And I loved it. I learned so many things about this country that I love. I definitely choose this country. That's why I'm here. I think it has all the goods. Like, it's a young country. It seems to be that you can decide more who you want to be than in another place that is more established. Maybe that's my feeling. Like, you can start something from scratch and do it better.
How did you find like getting your first job and things like that over here? Was that like a struggle? Could you speak English before? I
did, but not Australian English, mate. Here was a next level. It was hard. It wasn't easy. I worked in a restaurant, and I was really lucky that I got that job straight away. But it was a little bit, there is a lot of racism here. There's a lot. So because of being Latina, I had to encounter like, okay, you go and just do dishes. And I was like, fuck, whoa. But it was just for a small period, and I knew that it was just like, okay, fair enough. I will start from the bottom. This is what I'll do, and I'll go to the top. Yeah, it was a little bit hard in the beginning, but at the same time, what I love about Australians is that you're like so looking for stuff, looking for something new, because maybe there is a lack of like own culture as a white Australian. So it's really good to see how like aware of what's going on and how intrigued with all the stuff Australian is. Like I love that. It's like super open to see new stuff, and I thought that was like awesome. Yeah, like wow, this is open people. Like they are so open for new stuff. They are so open to learn and develop their own culture. I thought that is awesome, and super educated. That's what I love the most. Like respectful.
Yeah, when you were like, after you've like gone through the whole process of like coming to Australia, dealing with like that, like racism and things like that.
And I only had one situation, I want to say, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I see that as the most of Australia at all. It is present, but it was only one out of like all the amazing friends that I have today. So
Yeah, well, I guess So when you were then starting your own business and your own magazine, how did you find the interaction between like Australians and your project?
Yeah.
Because I've heard before when people have started their own business because they come from another country, they find it really difficult to get like support through Australians. I guess in the creative scene it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I didn't find that. If like I saw that more in hospitality than in the creative. The creatives, it's just awesome, dude. Like we are so keen to learn from each other, support each other. I got support straight away, even from like council, which it's for me it's new as well. In my country, anything governmental we hate it, and here it's like, dude, no, they're actually doing cool stuff. Like there is people that is keen to help and promote other people, and for me with the shelter was 100% that, like from the beginning, even from, as I said, like the refinery, Andrea Kewen, Dear Dunan, Fat Dog. Yeah, it was just like awesome. Erin, like so many cool people that were like, yes, let's do this together. Like kind of like they jump on board almost.
Touching on the refinery, because you've gone through the whole course, and I had Sam on, she's currently doing the course.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to Sam about the differences between maybe how have they refined the course a little bit more since you've been through it?
I haven't actually. I saw it because I still attend to their, like I still support them as they did with me. And I go to the chats and to the presentations of every cohort at the end, And I saw it, of course, it's growing as well. It's my experience was with COVID, so everything was online. So it was really, really different. But yeah, I love it. I think they are key for the Sunshine Coast, and I hope in 10 years they are still doing it. I love it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they're doing a really good job in terms of like molding creatives and like helping them turn their project into an actual business.
Yeah, 100%. And they have, the council backup, so it's kind of like if you have the money and the good soul, that's like a no-brainer. No?
I remember when we had breakfast a few weeks back. It's probably longer than that. I can't remember.
Yeah.
But we were talking about when you have someone come in like with money to fund your project, how they have an input on the direction and vision of what you're trying to achieve.
We talked about that. Yeah.
So how do you find, I guess, what were the challenges that you faced when you were trying to put that to someone, and then in the end did you just go, all right, it's better off just not having that kind of input and just following what you just want to do?
In my case, I provide us marketing service, and they give me advertising stuff, and that's what I do. So it's pretty straightforward, and I get the funds out of advertising. So I don't change anything of my structure to provide this service. It's pretty straightforward. Boom, you give me money, I put your ad, I'll share it and distribute, and that's our deal. And for so far it makes great sense. I feel that maybe it's a connection between council stuff, festivals, and that kind of stuff with emerging artists. So the personality of the shelter, it's not touched by it, and I'm open to if there's someone with a lot of money that wants to invest and talk. Yeah, I'm super open. But of course, it would have to be someone that understands the personality of the project, and and respect, and maybe if there is an input, it's to improve it and not change it.
Where do you see the project going in like the next 5 years?
There's so many things that I want to do. One is a book or 3, and become like a more established publisher. And with the events, I see great stuff, because we are having now markets with all local businesses, and with the other ones with the Morph. So the Happy Market is during the day, and Morph, it's during like Arbo. So those 2 things, I see them growing and being something that established, that people know that is happening every month. And even people from Gold Coast, Byron, and Brisbane, they know that that's what Sunshine Coast have every, once a month or twice a month. So I see it growing. I see it more established. I want to, and I will continue to work towards that. So should happen.
Have you implemented like your Argentinian background into this project? And or like, have you taken different parts of cultures from other countries as well to like create it?
Interesting. I reckon I'm not only Argentinian but human itself, with lots of background. I have Italian background, Spanish background, Peruvian background in my family. Traveled through United States a lot. My sister lives there for ages, like the last 22 years. Been to Brazil a lot. So there's definitely a lot of that all in what I do and who I am. But it's mostly showing local creatives. So it's all about what's happening here. So the focus is 100% on what the Sunshine Coast has. And that, I think, ends up being like all over the Peruvians, Brazilians, and all the background is like what's happening here. And everyone has their own background. Like you might have English, Irish, I don't know, or Italian, I don't know. And everyone has their own, kind of like culture background. So yeah, but it's all local. I'm getting distracted.
Well, this has been, this is a good way. I think it's a good way to end.
Finish it.
But before we get out of here,
Local.
2 things we'd like to do. You get to shout out a local legend who you think should come on the show, and then you get to give one bit of advice to anyone who's trying to start a project or would like to, just needs a bit of a kick in the ass, basically.
So wait, one that you should invite and the other one?
Yes. So you get to shout out a local legend who you think should come on the show.
Yeah.
And then number 2 is you get to give advice to anyone you think needs a bit of a kick in the ass to start their project.
Only one to come?
No, you can shout out as many as you want.
Okay.
I'll just say one, but you can shout out.
Yeah. One that came first to my mind is Megan Rowland. She's not only a creative, but also works in the refinery. She's part of the Sunshine Coast Council in I don't know what department, because there's so many, but in the cultural. bit. So I think she would be awesome, and she's super charismatic and would love to chat with you, and it would be fun. Andrea Kirwin, if you haven't met her, she's legend. She's the most active artist I know here in the coast. So it would be awesome. She will tell you so many stories about local stuff. She's great and so talented. And someone to give a push.
No, you got to give advice. So if you had to give advice to someone who needed a kick in the ass to start their project, what would it be?
Not someone specific. Oh my gosh, do I have to name someone? Like, hey,
name it. Oi, get started. No, just anyone in general. Just any piece of advice.
One advice to do it.
Yeah, maybe someone's giving you advice, so you're like, oh, I really.
I guess it's just make it sustainable in all the sources that you can, like energy and money, and don't give up. It's so cliche, but like that's what I said to myself. I'm just in the beginning of this, so it's just do it, and go through the good and the bad, but keep on doing it.
There you have it. This has been another amazing episode of Creative Appetite. Thank you, Mica, for coming on and sharing your story. And to the rest of you guys, tell your grandma, like, share, and subscribe. Hang around for the next one. Let's go. See you.